No surprise, the number one way that companies say they listen is through the inverted commas, the big survey, the engagement survey, the annual survey, whatever it is. That remains the number one thing. Now, I've got a lot of experience of running these things or being part of running these things in big organizations. And so I have a lot of frustrations around that. And yeah, I wrote a couple of, posts, and I've allowed myself, this is where I sort of say, maybe arrogantly or not, I don't know, to have a bit of a rant and to hopefully be a bit provocative around surveys. There's a huge industry to do surveys, and I'm certainly not ever setting myself up as a survey guru or a survey expert, because there are many people who know the survey industry better than I do. But what I've experienced in different organizations is a combination of my first article, which was the horrors of doing surveys, which includes things like, and I won't get all of them, and I don't need to, but just, I'm sure again that listeners and what the viewers will sort of mentally tick off some of these. There's more focus on the response rate than there is on the results. The amount of time it takes in, leading up to a survey to get clean data is just ridiculous. Head office determine you've got to have every question under because there's so many things that are important to head office. And so people given these sort of 50, 60 questions, surveys to answer, most of those questions are either irrelevant or not going to lead to any action anyway, including questions like what's the question that always gets the lowest result? Do you think you get paid fairly, or do you think you get paid competitively, or whatever? To which people always say no, because what else are they going to say? And then what does the organization do with that information? It could do something with it. It could then properly communicate about how salaries, with evidence, by the way, because I've never believed an HR function that says we benchmark our surveys locally. I've never seen that proved. So they always say it. And I'm sure that there's some survey that they have, report that they use, but I don't know how they would know that my salary and what I do is benchmarked. Anyway, that's another point. But I've never seen that question responded to ever, but it seems to appear in every survey. Maybe it's part of your engagement index from those sort of old-fashioned engagement index things. Or there's the question, one of my favourites is, which I saw, tell us how our senior leadership team are doing. And after a couple of years of asking that, they realised people didn't know who they meant. Did they mean my local senior leadership, my current, So they started to name them. They said the ExCo, tell us how the ExCo are doing. To my point earlier about the head office, I remember going in one company, going out and spending a day with someone in the sales team, and she had no idea who these people were. No idea at all. She sort of barely knew the chief executive, but the rest of them were and it's, so why are you asking me questions that I just cannot answer? I have no idea about. Yeah. But they're important to people in the head office. So the questions are irrelevant. You get, the results when they come take forever. One of the things about, if we haven't really said this, what's the definition of listening? For me, it's to respond appropriately. 2-word definition is responding appropriately. And that doesn't mean you do anything necessarily. Appropriate can mean many things. But one of the words is you respond. And how many organizations, you do the big survey and it's 3 months before people hear the results. By the time the survey companies come back and then done the sort of data cleansing, and then they get the headline report, and then the next report, and then the senior leadership want to cut it in 6 different ways. And by the time you then get, results which you can share more widely, it's taken literally 3 months. And it's like, well, that's relevant then. People completely forgotten what they've done.